All right, good evening or good afternoon. I'll get it when the day pride's right. Good afternoon. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Goode. Welcome to the blog as everyone slowly but surely is trickling in on this, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right? Wednesday, the 10th day of September. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed some quiet weather. I know it was beautiful back here. I was out of town for a while. I had a chance to get out to the lovely Great Smoky Mountains. I did see a bear, and which was really cool. Although you could tell the tourists versus the locals. Locals are like, they're everywhere. I may post some of the pictures from that trip either on my Facebook page or on my TikTok, which is Be Good Weather, Be Good WX. Some of the funnier ones that I came across while there in good old Gatlinburg. Saw some folks here from Wave as well, Wave viewers that were down there too. Always nice to see everybody. So it was nice to get away for a little bit. I only had one rainy day that I deal with, and that was in Dollywood. And that there is a unique coaster. I forgot the name of it. It's Miners something. Somebody may know if they've been there a few times. The coolest coaster I've ever ridden on before, to be honest. But I didn't know what it was about or what was around the corner, so to speak, for me. So I got onto it, and I loved it. It was beautiful. I thought it was the design. It was really cool and majestic. And then the rain ended up shutting it down for the rest of the day. So bummer. But I got on it once. That's all that matters, right? All right, moving on from that. This is what everyone's been talking about, right? Getting ready for Bourbon and beyond as we are heading toward the next couple of weeks here. A lot of festivals here into Wave Country. This has been such a huge setup for our area during this part of September. And last year was about the heat for Bourbon and for Louder Than Life. Well, it started off with the remnants of Hurricane Helene that had better ideas on trying to get things rolling. All right, so let's hope we don't have a repeat of that. I'll try to give you a little bit of an early thought on how that's trending here in just a second, but at least for Bourbon and beyond, looking good, right? I mean, the stages, everything's in a different spot this year, so that's why our camera views look a little different, and what a cool shot we have right now from those stages. I love that. All right, temperature outside, 77 degrees here in Louisville, 79 into Fort Knox. Got a few 80s out there. The reason why some of you are not warming as quickly as the rest of us, to the west really especially, are clouds. And these clouds have been lingering over us today and may slow the thermometer down a bit. We'll play catch up here very soon. As of recently, the highs have been generally in the 70s, right? I mean, you guys had some gorgeous weather over the weekends. We've been alluding to here in the 70s. Only hit an 80 yesterday, but a good chance that we'll be beating that here very soon. And then we're going to start to fill this in with some 90s. And keep in mind, though, even if we are showing a high, I believe right now we got like 93 in the outlook, there's a chance we may put like a 94, even up to a 95 if the drought becomes the bigger player. But the heat index on all those days would almost certainly be lower than the actual number. So the heat index is not as much of a worry here. So it's the dry heat type of season that's out in the west they deal with. That's what we're talking about for this last gasp of heat that'll be coming our way here into the coming days. All right, we obviously need some rain. I tried to backtrack this as far as I could on data for the past 6 days. Notice Indiana, you guys certainly have been struggling to get anything at all. You farmers out there, I'm sure you probably already have been doing a lot of cutting of the hay and trying to get everything ready for the harvest side here. But down across central Kentucky, yeah, you've had some decent rain. You were worse in the drought conditions before. We'll see if we can add on to this. Looking at just a 6-day window, that type of rainfall that's less than an inch in many spots is not enough. Not enough. And especially when you're about to enter dry days coming our way. And this would be different if we had dry weather and say 75 over the next 10 days. Yes, it would gradually get drier, and yes, the drought would gradually get worse. But when you are dealing with 90 plus, say 93, you have that on a repetitive nature with the dry ground. It accelerates drought conditions, and we call that a rapid onset drought. And we are now in that zone to where, well, yes, it's dry now. We're in a drought. We could really see this escalate over the next 10 to 14 days if we don't get any help. Because all this you see here from the last 6 days is already gone. Basically, as far as its value now for helping us out on temperatures from here on out. So that's how fast it goes away. All right, here's the view from space now, showing this batch of clouds that taking a sweet little time, moving right across Indiana, now crossing 64. Overcast outside, so at least some shade. That's a perk, right? Especially if you get to work outside. So some shade moving through. We've had some blips at times. Seeing a little bit of the, one or two little raindrops come out of these clouds. Nothing confirmed yet. I've been waiting for NPM reports, any type of rain gauges that have picked up a drop or two. They probably wouldn't even show up because, again, a drop or two doesn't show up in a gauge, but you get the idea. The air is quite dry. It is. So this is really a shade for us today to pass through. So it may cut down on a couple of highs, but I think overall we're in good shape. All right, here is the drought index that will be updated tomorrow. This is where we stood last week. And remember, we did have some rain events in areas that at that time may have altered this map. So I think that tomorrow's map will have a little more of a true reality of where we stand on drought. The one that came out last week, yeah, it's just not quite the one that we need to be looking at. But tomorrow, I got a feeling we'll have a much more improved looking map. And as I mentioned, here's that rapid onset drought conditions that they've drawn up. And it's for areas that did see that low end rain amount that I showed you on the rainfall forecast. It had very little green painted Indiana, but had that green over central Kentucky. That may have saved you from getting worse in your category now. But for Indiana and Louisville, our map tomorrow, based on this being drawn up here, may indeed get worse and worse for the Ohio River Valley. I think everyone's eventually going to be in the same boat. We're all just approaching the drought at different stages here, but eventually it's all going to meet up and we're all going to be needing some rainfall. It's just a very weird process to get it to that point because these updates happen so infrequently, but I think you guys get the idea. A lot of the trees are already losing their leaves. How sad is that? Makes me angry. Still some maples that got some beautiful reds on them. They do tend to turn a little early, but there's a lot of tree action where the leaves are falling due to drought stress. And you probably have noticed that in your backyard as of late. Let's see. Everyone good here on chat? I see a lot of folks. Let's see. Hello to Justin. Hope you're doing all right. Hello, Joel. And Karen, you read where the super, what does that say? Read the super warm Gulf could mean storms to the Ohio Valley. Yes and no. You can develop the storms there, but if we're getting too many cold fronts that are still dropping into the Midwest and the Ohio River Valley, they would not have a chance to go this far north. They would be shunned more likely east, northeast to the East Coast, east of the Appalachians. But our fronts are key, and we'll talk more about that in the longer term coming up in just a second. All right. Good. All right. So let's go where let's go next to where we're going to trend here for the next few days. We'll start with our in-house model where it's got a little bit of that cape. Yeah, a little bit of that red color. But again, red is not necessarily a high level, right? The gold, the brighter gold, white coloring of this fuel that shows up, that's when you got to be a little more alarmed for this potential. This is very low in amounts of fuel, just enough moisture as it drifts over. It's not always again as clouds. Can't run a sprinkle, maybe a shower. I'll be fair, maybe a shower. If you wash your car, yeah, then you definitely are going to be targeted for that. This is a very sluggish piece to move through, by the way. It'll take until tonight and even tomorrow, kind of just drifting its way to the west and southwest. It'll get pushed away from an area, but while it lingers, it'll provide for a passing cloud or two and a very low end rain chance. Don't worry about this. It's not a big ordeal. Otherwise, we get into Bourbon and Beyond, looking good. Same story for day number 2. Also, as we head into the Gaslight Festival this weekend, the parade's tomorrow, looking good for that and looking good for the festival. It just will be very warm. Likely not at 90 degrees in J-Town, but it will be close, like 88. I mean, it's quite warm. So plan your walks accordingly there in the heart of J-Town. Take some breaks, plenty of spots to do that there, right? You can stop and get yourself a refreshing drink and get back and do some more shopping there at some of the booths, right? As we evolve into Saturday and Sunday, the one change that we may have there is a chance to get some thunderstorms. So now it's time to do my favorite segment time here. It's been a while since I've had a chance to do this with you all. You all know this segment. As I need a clear evening. You'll be all right. They'll be clearing as we head into this evening, Tina. So hang tight, hang tight. Okay, so the pattern is really the biggest challenge we've got here in this long term is the main jet that's really driving everything is just way up here. We have two different areas, sometimes three, mainly two different areas of high pressure that are kind of just battling it out back and forth on who wants to control the United States here. And they have different strengths. Sometimes they're nearly matched in strength. So it's like a battle watching, two fish in a tank fight over a spot or something. It's taking a while. But there are some, at times, weaknesses in between the two. And when that happens, you get these little fronts that move in. They can't always make it down to our level, but they do allow for a small temperature drop. In some cases, you can get some rain out of it. I think in our case, to get at least some showers and storms in the near term, this high in the plains needs to slide just a little bit more west to allow for the Ring of Fire to get into the eastern side of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. I don't know how long of a window we're looking at. It looked late weekend and for a couple of days next week, and that's it. Then the high will build back over again. So we have a narrow window where there could be a weakness in the ridge right here to where we may get some thunderstorms, although they could be MCSs, those complexes of storms that dive in from the northwest. It may involve that, but this is all just theory right now that we would find ourselves into this pattern. This would be toward, again, the end of the weekend. We got several days to watch it. And once it happens, then we'll have to figure out will we actually even get rain from it. So if the pattern is at least possible, that's step one. Once we know the pattern is more likely to actually develop with a high pressure to our west, Ring of Fire aiming our way, then we got to figure out where will that aiming be? Where is the angle of attack? It's going to bring the storms down into West Kentucky. It's going to miss us and go into West Virginia, or we'll go right over us in the core wave country. All good questions. I just can't answer them yet. I don't think anybody can. It's too far out. But that's our next chance to get some rain. And again, it's a temporary one because this weakness doesn't last very long. The high will move back to the east again, and we will heat back up. Now, down the road, there are signs that the setup into October especially wants to feature a return of some type of severe weather event and conditions into the nation's heartland. We'll wait and see if that happens. The signal I was looking at before I went on break was the first 5 days or so of October. This was an area to watch. There's not a lot of modeling that supports this right now. This is just me talking on pattern recognition that there will likely be some type of cyclone here to allow for more thunderstorm development. If that can indeed develop, and I see more support for it, then confidence then on trying to get down more cold shots of air to drop in from Canada for the middle and latter portions of October will start to increase. But that setup of the thunderstorms in the plains is key on that. If we don't change much at all, that what you see out there now, what you see for next week, if it gets locked in all the way into October, this is not going to be a pretty fall this year, unfortunately. It's going to be one of those, not as bad as 2019, but it's going to be, that type of feel for 2019 where everything just dies off, hot and dry. So I'm hoping that we get some sort of interaction here to get some thunderstorms to build up as we approach October. And if we do, then my confidence level on allowing for more cold attacks to drop in will start to go up. I'm not ready to make that change in the forecast. I'm just letting you know what my thoughts are in my little brain. And we'll just see what it looks like down the road. I mean, it's beyond the 10 days, so I can't go into much detail than that. Here is Futurecast using the Euro model. Again, the blue areas indicating cooler pockets of air, the golds and reds indicating your storm fuel, thunderstorms, a little more prevalent as we evolve. This is Friday. Notice we are quiet here, so we're good. We're good. All right, now we get into the second half of the weekend. All right, Saturday and Sunday. And now Sunday into Monday. Here is where the high is centered. And here we go with the Ring of Fire showing up. And it's trying to dive the storms straight down. But again, I don't know if that's going to aim toward Paducah, Louisville, Cincinnati only. I don't know. But this is it. And if we're going to get rain, this is the pattern that would get you one. The only other way this time of the year usually is going to be from the tropics, right? Well, that's not happening. So it's all going to be about what's going to happen with the Ring of Fire and will those storms drop down in that northwest flow or not. Once we get past that window, as I mentioned, the high will try to reestablish itself and build right back in again toward the end of the longer term. And I think this one will hold for a while until we see some severe weather that will try to break out at the very end of September and October. Don't really know if it's going to be here, but it just needs to be in the plains. That's a good spot to be to allow for there to be the pattern once again into a blocking pattern to allow for these lows to drop in out of Canada and cool us down. But all that has to happen. Woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of thing. So here's the entire 10-day. I'm going to bring that up full screen for you guys. And let me know what questions you got. These numbers are going to change. I mean, they're not going to change dramatically. It's just if we get confidence on an MCS or a thunderstorm setup, especially for Sunday, Monday, even Tuesday, obviously that means the numbers may go down in temperature, but we're not ready to make those calls yet. So I think it's easier for you guys to understand that it's just going to be hot until we're finding something that can block that from happening. Any questions? Jeremy, any Pacific storm is a recurve? No, not necessarily. The flow not quite prime for that. I know they have a few Eastern Pacific. Really, once you get into October, we start paying more to really the Western Pacific for typhoons to see if they can be involved in the recurving typhoon theory and allow for drops into the United States. I haven't looked at a lot of its data yet today, but that is part of the winter forecast that I'll be working on, which I haven't gotten too far in since I've been out, but the next 2 to 3 weeks is when I'll write majority of it. So tight. Sean says slight breeze outside. There we go. Yeah. Any thunderstorms, Crispy says, but today you can get a bolt of lightning in a very dry environment. So I wouldn't say no on lightning. I just think it's unlikely just because of the idea that I don't know if they'll be able to have the positive negative charges to connect there. So I'm thinking sprinkles, Crispy is a little more likely for any of that stuff today. I wouldn't get too worked up on today's stuff. CFS long term, what does that say? CFS long term, sadly. Oh, it's a long term, sadly. Seeing some 30s and 40s around my birthday. CFS is a long term model. Yes, it has a GFS relationship, a cousin. It does have issues, but the CFS did very well for winter last year. I'm not saying it's going to do well in the late summer and fall, but CFS is a fun model to watch. CFS, my role in that is never take one model, run with it, and say that's what's going to happen. Trend it. It runs long enough in time that you can trend that model easily and keep track of what it's doing, the positives and negatives, and you will, if you're paying attention, because the biggest part of being a scientist is observation. If you're able to pay attention, you will see a pattern start to emerge, and that will help you out in long-term forecasting. There's your little secret there. Mark, hard to believe how quiet the tropic weather. So far, yeah, pressures, everything's been off, whether it was the dust, the pressures, the water temperatures. It's been a little wonky this year, but it doesn't end until the end of November. So we've got a while. Steve, what do you got there? Shower now in Brandenburg. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. You're the first one to finally verify rain hitting the ground there. So rain there into Brandenburg, Meade County. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. See, that's why you guys are an asset to us. Your reports, even your stories you share, I appreciate, but your reports especially and your questions all help us as work together as a team, right? It's a conversation. All right, I'm going to end it for there. I just want to do a quick, I'm back here at work today. Today I'm just trying to get caught up in a lot of other things to get back in my routine. So I appreciate you all being patient with me. And we'll get back on track here, and not only tomorrow, but into the coming days and weeks ahead, right? All right, hang in there, guys. Don't get too discouraged about the hot weather and no cold weather and snow. All right, it's still early. Lots could still change, guys. It's the fun time of year. Hang tight.